do you know what? Niching really does feel like a pain in the butt for you guys. And I totally get it. And hopefully today I'm going to shift your mindset and open up an amazing new opportunity for you on how to actually go forth and do niching. And this is probably one of the most successful webinars I used to run. So I stopped talking about niching a couple of years ago, and I stopped the webinars because I used to do this every couple of weeks. But I've decided that you guys are struggling with it again. So I'm going to come back and help you, which is great. All right, let me go to the slides so that I can share them with you. So we're going to share here. Has that worked? No, that shared my entire thing. You don't need to see all of that. Let me go back again. Right. Can you see my screen? Niche your marketing, not your practice. Does that show up? Just give me a thumbs up or a yes, please, everybody, so that I know that you can see and hear. Brilliant. Thank you for the thumbs up. Fab. All right. So the reason why I'm bringing this back is because it is so important. However, the landscape has changed. And back in 2016, 2017, when I first started working with accountants and bookkeepers and CFOs, there was really very little need for you to do marketing. The reason why there was little need is because you could rely on referrals, and that was giving you a great business. Most accounting and bookkeeping firms have been built on word of mouth and referrals. Then what happened in 2020, well, when 2019, when the pandemic hit, but actually 2020, when everybody had to really step up and start to overcome the problems of the pandemic hitting, I started working with you guys to help you with your marketing, which is when I really started to do the weekly marketing training webinars. Some of you will remember that. Some of you came to those webinars. And the reason why we had to do that is because the pandemic had shown up, and when the pandemic had shown up, we had to start showing up for our clients more. So you had to start showing up for your clients to show why you could help them and how they needed your help. But then after a couple of years, things settled down again until we started to see a few other problems come in. So I want to talk about offshoring for 2 seconds. And offshoring is great because it enables you to outsource offshore your compliance work to free up the time for advisory. But what's actually happening is that we can get people to work for us for a lot less if we do it outside of the UK or outside of America or outside of Canada, all of these places, right? We can offshore for a lot less. Now, the problem isn't offshoring. The problem is that has meant that it's really difficult for us to get very good employees here in the UK, which means that we are pushed to offshore even more because we haven't got the good talent coming through. The number of people who are joining the accounting profession is getting less. So this is affecting the traditional compliance work. That's one of the forces that is got a problem, right? So then we've also got AI taking over. Now, you and I know that AI is not going to take over compliance and bookkeeping work. One of my friends actually created a book, something accruals. I can't remember what the name of the book was, accruals something. And he tried to create an AI only accounting firm and it failed. We still needed the human touch. However, because AI has been introduced, what is happening is we are being told by software developers and by the industry who are driving AI forward that we as compliance providers are going to be needed less and less. This is having a compound effect and making our ability to charge good money for compliance work go down. So prices are going down. We're fighting more on prices. Offshoring is happening more. So we're not getting the great talent through to help with the compliance work. And AI has shifted a lot of what we're doing. It's freeing up our time, but it's also making our clients go, oh, I'll just AI that. I'll just Google that. Oh, it's not even Google anymore, is it? I'll just ask Claude or I'll just chat it. And these things are really changing the profession. So compliance work's being automated, software is getting better every month. That is the truth. It is getting better every month. Offshoring is the same work done well for a fraction of the cost, and compliance is being squeezed to the floor, and a prospect can compare you against 10 other firms in seconds. Even when someone gets a referral, they are still going to check you out online. So we need to be thinking about how we are positioning ourselves. Now, niching is a positioning. It's a thing to do with positioning. It's not about you going and creating something that makes you feel limited. Now, as I said, there was a time that the work came to you. Referrals arrived on their own. We could have people stay with us for 14 years. I think the average amount of time that a business stays with one accountancy firm is 14 years, or it was 14 years. And that meant that you had a very, very stable business. However, because the majority of you undercharge, that makes a very difficult business because you haven't got the profits there. You've got to add more team every time you get new clients. Accrual intentions. Thank you, Nicola. That's great. You have to get more team every time you get new clients, and it's an absolute nightmare, right? Absolute nightmare. So we relied on referral marketing, but it didn't build us great businesses. It actually built what I call a monster business, which is high revenue. You can build a business with high revenue, high team, lots of hours, you're not taking much time off, horrible time around tax season. What I help people build, as you can see here, Built for Freedom, right, is a productized freedom practice. So the way that we do that is not relying on referrals. Now you have to purposely show up. So you can't have the days where all you did was go, oh, I'm going to rely on referrals. We have to do marketing, and we have to do it deliberately and consistently. And one of the reasons why the market has shifted this way is because now accountants and bookkeepers do actually show up and do marketing. Back in 2020, when the pandemic hit, I had 300 firms go through my program in 2020 and 2021. That's a lot of firms who decided, oh, I'm going to start showing up and doing marketing. And these firms started to get the majority of the clients. And you would see your small cottage industry accountants and bookkeepers, right? With the smaller ones, maybe they've got revenue of 50 to 80K. They started struggling because they were still relying on referrals when the pandemic hit. They were still doing things the old way. And then all of a sudden there was this wave of accountants that started doing marketing online. And it just changed the entire profession. So where relying on referrals was okay, it's not anymore. Now, marketing is not meant to be difficult. That might surprise you, but marketing is not meant to be difficult. But it is a thankless task if you don't niche. Marketing is about throwing mud, and it's really difficult for it to hit if you don't niche. What happens is you shout into the noise and you hope that the right people will see you and that they will go, oh, do you know what? This is great. This is exactly what I'm looking for. I liken it, actually. I don't know where you guys and girls are. I didn't actually ask you if you're based in the UK or abroad, but I grew up in a place called Croydon. You might have heard of it, right? If you're in the UK, you've probably heard of it. It has a certain reputation. But there was Croydon Market, and it was a great market. But what would happen is we would show up to Croydon Market and we'd start up one end and walk down to the other end. And as we walked past, it didn't matter whether we wanted something or not. There were people shouting, going, come and buy my tomatoes, come and buy my bananas, come and get this. This is amazing. You might have found it, actually, when you go to markets abroad, when you go on holiday, you've got people coming out to you trying to sell you stuff. That is what marketing is like if you don't niche. What's happening is you're the market stall person and you're like hoping that someone is going to walk past and want what you are selling. And that's really exhausting. However, when you have a shop front and you say, I specialize in helping this kind of person with this kind of problem, then the right person knows that they can come to you and you are able to get in front of them if that's what they need, right? So what we need to do is think of it like that. We don't want to be the market stall. We want to be the shop front that brings in our ideal clients. All right. We want to be the Selfridges of selling something because we get the right clients coming into Selfridges. We don't want to be the market stall vendor who's shouting. Now, there is one thing that these forces that I've been speaking to you about cannot automate, can't offshore it, and you cannot undercap. And that is the relationship. And that's what people pay for now. And a really good example of that is one of my competitors reached out to one of my clients and said, hey, do you want help with this? And she turned around and she went, no, I'm really happy being in Amanda's tribe. And I'm going to be speaking to you a little bit later about why niching is so important when it comes to building those relationships with people. But you need to build relationships with your clients to get and keep them for a long time. You can't just rely on selling by price or selling on speed, because people don't need speed and price. We're lacking in connection. I'd like you just to check in with yourself for one moment. So just have a think. What is it that you like about working with some people compared to others? So when you hand over your hard-earned cash, when you've got a problem and you engage somebody to help you, what is it that stands out from those that work and you enjoy and those that don't? And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I reckon you know them, you like them, you probably trust them, and you feel like you have a relationship with them. And if we want to sell higher value services, we have to build a connection with our prospects and with our clients. We can't treat people like numbers. Numbers are this plus this equals this. I don't need to tell you how numbers work, right? I don't need to tell you how relationships work. You have certain relationships that you really value. And what we need to do is position you as the accountant, bookkeeper, or CFO where your clients really value you. Okay. And I'm very, very grateful for my clients. And I say it to them all the time. I say, thank you for trusting me, because it's about the relationship with the person that you buy from. And that's the thing that is something that can't ever be taken away from you. The fact that you can have a box of tissues on your side, and you've got a client opposite you, and you say, how are you? And they burst into tears because they're having a really difficult time, and you hold that space, even though it's not about the numbers, but you hold that space. That is the magic that AI, offshoring, pricing, none of it can touch you. None of it can touch you. And that's the magic. And that's what we're talking about today when it comes to niching, is to enable you to have more of that magic. All right. So a relationship of these things is built on understanding, is built on you knowing someone and someone feeling like you know them. Trust grows between you. So I've had people who have come to my webinars for years that feel like they know, like, trust me, and that they know, they really, really know me. Like, I don't want to just say those words flippantly. And I don't necessarily know them so well, but the moment they become a client, I get to know them. But that's what marketing does, because if someone knows you, they start to trust you. So we need to have a really solid relationship with our prospects as well as our clients to make sure that we're not competing on price, and that we're showing your value and making you future proof, because that's the key thing, right? Making you absolutely vital for your clients. So we need to show that you have understanding of what they're going through. You have to build that trust over time. You have to provide value, and you have to give it time. So when somebody buys from you, if you imagine a triangle, and at the top of the triangle, you've got different fractions, right? You've got 3%, you've got 7%, you've got 40%, and you've got 50%, okay? 3% of people at the top of that triangle are looking for a solution and ready to buy something now. 7% in the next 3 months, 40% in the next 2 years, and 50% probably will never buy from you, but they will refer people to you. They will recommend you. They are in your world. Now, the majority of marketing that is taught out there, and I've fallen for it myself, right? But the majority of marketing out there is marketing to the 3%, which is buy my stuff now. And when people do marketing well, they start to understand that the magic number is that 40% of people in the middle that need nurturing for up to 2 years. And that's what I mean by time. All right. So I talk about niching being a relationship activator. Now, there's 7 relationship activators. Niching is the first one. It's the thing that starts a relationship. And the reason why is because understanding, you learn one world deeply so that you truly get your ideal client. So I understand accountants and bookkeepers, CFOs, what's going on in the industry. I'm watching and listening and learning all the time, which means that I understand what's happening. I can't do that for accountants and bookkeepers and CFOs and lawyers and dentists and all these different things, okay? Trust, your words prove you know them, so trust builds faster. Value, you see the patterns so you can solve what others miss. So the reason why I now do what I do, back in 2017, when I first started working with you guys, I was just like, hey, I help you with marketing. But I saw the pattern that actually more marketing can make your practice a disaster if you're marketing the wrong thing to the wrong people at the wrong time. So I had to shift what I was doing with you so that we didn't get you building what I call a monster business and get you building a productized freedom practice. And then time is you stay within a few relationships that you can hold, so none of them are shallow. So there's a couple of people on today's webinar that re-engaged a relationship. You know who you are. We were emailing. I think it was over the weekend. It might have been yesterday. And then I'm mid-conversation with someone. Now, I'm holding those two conversations right now in my mind and thinking about both of those people. All right. And you can't do that if you have 300 clients. It's not possible. When I had 300 clients during COVID, I can't remember everybody's names. I can't remember what they look like. I have to go onto LinkedIn and Google them and go, oh, yes, that's that person. But even that's very difficult when you've got 300 people. So what happens when you niche is you create a condition that a relationship really needs, and it switches the relationship on at the beginning of that prospect's journey. Is this making sense? Because I kind of got to give you the context. Just give me a yes or a no in the chat box. Is this resonating? Are you seeing why this is so important? Yes, makes sense. Thank you, Ubaid. All right. So if niching is this powerful, you would expect all of you to do it. So, but most of you don't. Something always gets in the way. Let me know in the chat box. Write the word yes or no to the whether or not you niche. Do you niche? And please, all of you engage with this, because this isn't about me selling you anything. This is about let's get this sorted. Okay, let's get this sorted. So you do niche. Yes, Andrew, you do. How's it going actually with your niche? Because I know that you chose a niche and then you were going to pivot. Have you pivoted? Not yet, says Nicola. Marielle, no, don't worry, Marielle, because what I'm going through today will really help you with niching. Anyone who is looking at niching, this is going to help you. Okay, so we've got a few of you niching. So why are you here? Okay, if you're already niche, what is it that's making you go, I still want to find out about niching? You're welcome, sweetheart. What is it that's making you go, even though you niche, what do you feel is off? What's going on? What's going on? Just check in with yourself. Write down on a bit of paper. Hopefully you got pen and paper. I told you to take notes. Yeah. Okay. Fiona says, my niche is really struggling. Yeah. So when you have a niche that's struggling, I'm going to give an example of what someone who had a niche struggled did. And then we can make a decision. If you need to, you can reach out to me, but we can make a decision whether or not you pivot and switch niches. So there's three things that you can do if you've got a struggling niche. One is you hold on for dear life and hope they come out the other end. Two is you pivot and you switch niches. Or three is you keep that niche, but you expand and you look at around that niche, what would be a natural progression for you to go into. So I'll give accountants and bookkeepers and CFOs as an example. I first started talking to accountants. Then I went bookkeepers. Then I went accountants, bookkeepers, and CFOs. Then I went accountants, bookkeepers, CFOs, business advisors. Okay. If I want to expand further, I do accountants, bookkeepers, CFOs, business advisors. Then I go to wealth management companies and IFAs. That would be the natural progression. Or financial coach is another one. Okay. So can you see how that's expanding out? All right. All right. Anyway, let's crack on. So how many of you have ever thought this? I don't want to shrink my choices, so I'm not going to niche. I don't want to turn people away. Okay. So I don't want to niche. I enjoy serving lots of people. I hear this one all the time. I like the variety. Great. Variety keeps you poor, said with love. Okay. What if I pick the wrong niche? Yes, I can understand that. I have picked many wrong niches. So I started off as a generalist and I used to live in Salisbury, so I marketed to everybody in Salisbury. Then I started helping health coaches and fitness coaches. Then I moved into coaches in general and anyone who had a service-based business. That was too big a niche, so I had to niche down. So then I tried restaurants. That was not for me. That wasn't a good fit. Then I went back to business coaches, and that was great, but they frustrated me because they didn't understand the numbers. And then when Dad said to me, can you help accountants? He's a tax technician. Can you help accountants? I said, do you know what? That feels very much in alignment. So I tried it for a few months, and I've never looked back 10 years later. You guys are my people, and I'm very happy for that. All right. But there's a journey on niching. By the way, throughout that whole time, I made money. All right. So what's the worst thing that will happen if you choose the wrong niche? You make money. What's the best thing? They're the right niche. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need overthinking. And I'm going to show you the different options that you can have. So let's shift your thinking here. I want you to niche your marketing, not your practice. Okay. Niche your marketing, not your practice. And breathe. That means you don't have to go all in. Let's just go back. If you niche your marketing, not your practice, you don't shrink your choices, you don't turn people away, you can still serve loads of people. And if you pick the wrong niche, you pick another one. My job is done. Okay, all right, let's crack on a bit more. All right, so, oh God, I haven't spoken about being vital for ages. I'm so excited. I've done a couple of blogs recently where I've spoken about vital, but I first spoke about being vital back in 2016. It wasn't actually with accountants, it was with business coaches, and they struggled to develop lucrative companies. So they really struggled to help people have a successful business because they didn't understand the numbers. So I love Vital. It stands for valued, impactful, trusted, agile, and lucrative. So be recognized for your value, make an impact on the world, build relationships of trust, adopt agile approach to innovation, and develop lucrative companies. Now, I think that the only way that you can position yourself as vital to a particular person is to recognize your own value and be valuable to that person. To make an impact, you have to have relationships of trust. You have to be agile. So you have to understand their industry, and you have to be able to make or save them money. Okay, so there's 5 things that you need to shift, and niching enables you to do it. First of all, with valued, your marketing has to resonate and be relevant to your prospects. To be impactful, you have to align your services with their pains and create a bigger impact. Now, if you don't align your services with their fears and their frustrations and their pains, you're not going to be able to create an offer that A, gives you lots of money, and B, makes them lucrative. You can't create an offer if you don't know who you're creating an offer for and their problems. You will not be trusted if you can't get great results. If you're just, oh, I hate saying the word just before the sentence. If you are a compliance accountant and bookkeeper, you will only ever be deemed as a cost to a business because you're doing something that they don't want to do, which is pay their taxes the majority of the time. And they're going to question you on price. So you need to bring more value, bring more impact. You will then be more trusted. You need to understand their industry and profession so that you can adapt fast. So I'm now talking about niching in an age of AI, and things are happening with offshoring and outsourcing. You don't have offshoring and outsourcing if you sell hairdressing, right? So the niching enables me to understand your fears and frustrations. And I'm a really, really good example of why you should niche, because I've had a very successful business understanding and getting to know you guys. And you guys keep coming back to me. I took on a lovely gentleman last week who joined my program, my leverage program. He had done my momentum program, the first version, first iteration of it, back in 2020, I think, when COVID hit. But he's come back to me because he's tried working with marketers outside of the profession, and it didn't work because they didn't understand the accounting profession. He tried working with other people in the profession who were ex-accountants who now teach marketing, but they don't actually understand the psychology of marketing. They're just ex-accountants who niched, basically. They're the ones who are teaching, right? And then what we have is lucrative. You've seen the patterns across so many different businesses that are the same that you can make or save them money. All right. So that's why you have to position yourself as vital. Now, I talk about relationship activators. There are 7 of them. These relationship activators enable you to get clients, deliver a wow experience, and be vital. So right the way through. So the 7 are: get your positioning right. Positioning, the thing within positioning that really you have to get first is who is the person you're talking to, which is your niche. You need to productize your value. You need to build trust at scale, which is your marketing, but you can't do the marketing till you've productized your value. You need to sell without selling. I don't know about you, but I hate sales. I hate being sold to. I hate icky. Like I said to you at the beginning of this webinar, I am not here to pitch you. I hate value stacking. I hate guarantees. I hate all of that because I want to align with the person I'm buying from and trust them and have our values aligned. So we have to learn how to sell without selling, which is what I'm kind of doing today because I'm building this relationship with you. So I'm building trust at scale. So this webinar is part of Build Trust at Scale. The get your positioning right is ideal client. So that's you guys, right? You then have to win the first 100 days when you make a sale. That's relationship activator number 5. Then you deepen the partnership, which is how you do delivery. And then you activate your network, which is all about getting your current clients to give you referrals and your friends, family, partners, everybody else to give you referrals. This builds the know, like, trust factor and takes people through the getting to know you, delivering a wow experience, and being vital. They're the 3 levels. Okay. So these are the 7 relationship activators. The relationship activators create the productized freedom practice. Okay. Let's dive on into niching. 3 levels of niching: horizontal, vertical, micro. Now, I used to say there were 4 levels of niching, and the one below horizontal is being a generalist, but actually that's not niching. So I've decided it's 3 levels of niching or you're a generalist. So there's 4 levels, but there you go. I could get you really confused if I keep going on about that. So horizontal niche, this is where you niche on a specialism or an outcome, regardless of industry. Okay, so let me give you some examples. Sell for more. So if you are an accountant or a bookkeeper or a CFO and you help people plan an exit and have a higher sale price, that is a horizontal niche. If you help people keep more of what they earn, help them with their taxes, that is a horizontal niche. Scale without running out of cash, that's a horizontal niche. You're selling to the benefit that you give them. Get investment ready, selling to the benefit, the outcome, the transformation. Get out of the mess. So my client, Emma, she specializes. She came to me to help with advisory. We productized her advisory offering. And then both of us realized that the productizing of her compliance work was also really powerful. And her favorite thing was helping people with messes. So whilst we created this whole advisory arm to her practice, it all started with productizing the messes. And that was her favorite thing. So she became a generalist that specialized in helping people get out of the mess. Okay. Step back from the business, helping owners step away from the business. Predictable cash every month. These are all transformations. Now, there are a lot of cons to this niche. Okay. The most important thing I want you to understand is there are 2 kinds of people in this world that you can sell to. You have invisible people and visible people. The problem with a horizontal niche is they are invisible. They gather nowhere. There's no trade body, there's no magazine, there's no conference, there's no event, there's nowhere for you to go and be able to just get in front of those people. They're much harder to target and they're scattered across every sector. So what you have to do is throw a lot of marketing at them. It can be exhausting. They don't self-identify. So I've got 23,000 connections, I think, on my LinkedIn or followers on my LinkedIn. At least 15,000 of those are accountants. So if I wake up tomorrow and go, oh, I'm going to go and invite, which I have done with some of you, I'm going to go and invite 20 people today to my webinar. I don't have to spend an hour or 2 going through my list going, that's not suitable, they're not suitable, they're not suitable. I don't waste any of that time because every single person who's following me is an accountant or a bookkeeper or a CFO. Okay, or an advisor. Your marketing has to do the heavy lifting if you have a horizontal niche, and it's way more effort up front. Okay. However, if you do this, you have a bigger pool. You will never run out of prospects because you're literally marketing probably to the whole of the world. Okay. You can have premium pricing because you actually sell a transformation. That's very, very important. That enables you to position yourself as the expert on that problem. You will find that if you have a sector that dips, so was it Michaela who said that, hold on, somebody said, I can't remember who it was, said that their niche is not doing so well. This is where having a horizontal niche enables you to go, well, that's okay because I've got another 10 different industries that I can support, right? Referrals travel. So if they hang out with people that have the same problems that they have, then they can refer you, and it future-proofs you because some industries disappear and the outcome endures. Now, some industries are disappearing, but that doesn't mean that they're not a good niche. Sometimes you will find that an industry will disappear over 10 or 20 years, and that's long enough for you to carry on niching with them. Now let's talk about vertical niches. These are industry, okay? Dental practices, construction and trades, e-commerce, property, tech startups, hospitality, creative agencies, accountants and bookkeepers, okay? So vertical niche. There are pros and cons of a vertical niche. Really freaking easy to find. This is what I call a visible niche. You can go and get a list of them. You can go and buy a list. You can call a list. You can send direct mail to a list. You can connect with them on LinkedIn. You can go and hang out at conferences where they're all gather. It's brilliant, much cheaper to market to. You can target precisely who it is that you want to target, and every single pound of money works much better. You also become super fast the expert because you become known for the name in their world, right? Deep expertise, learn the sector once and reuse it across every client. That's exactly what I do. I just have to learn about one industry and I can help all of you. And referrals concentrate. Everyone in the industry knows everybody else. That is also a con, by the way, because when you have a niche and you're helping them have successful businesses and not helping them with marketing. The problem that I have is that my accountants don't like to refer other accountants if they are wanting to grow their business, because then they start competing against people and they both have the same expertise. So that can also be a con when you work with a vertical niche, because they don't like referring as much because they don't want all the secrets that they've spent lots of money on to go to somebody else, right? But there are some cons on a vertical niche, which is a concentration risk. So if the sector dips, every client is hurting at once, which means that they go, I can't afford it, I have to stop, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Smaller pool because you're capped by the size of the industry. There could be a fee ceiling, so they compare with each other. So pushing price can get harder. It can be crowded. Popular industries already have specialists fighting. Great example of that is the construction industry. So I don't want to put you off. I'm not talking you out of it. Still do it. But if you target the construction industry as an accountant or a bookkeeper, when I type in accounting for construction firms, you are thinking you're going to be in a category of 1, 2, or 5. No, there are tens and tens and tens and tens of pages on Google of accountants that specialize in construction firms. Okay. So niching, it works, but you can still be in quite a big pool if you niche, right? It can be crowded and less variety, so the work can start to feel repetitive. And I actually want to just say and acknowledge that that is true, okay? And we have to be careful, because the best businesses, I just actually want to say this, okay? The best businesses in the world are boring businesses. So if you want variety and if you want excitement and you want to be creative, then niching can feel limiting. I have been saying the same thing to you guys for over 10 years. And as I said, I've brought the niching webinar back, but I retired it because I was doing this webinar every 6 weeks and I got really bored of it. And we can feel like we're saying the same thing. I start my webinars off with the same problems, the same thing. But what niching enables me to do, even though it can be boring, and I'm being completely honest with you, it can be really boring saying the same thing 1,000 times, but it makes you wealthy. And I think a really good example of this, I don't know if any of you like rock music. I'm a huge Metallica fan, and I went to the Metallica concert back, I think it was 2017, 2018, when they were playing before COVID, and they played the same songs that they have played since I liked them when I was 20 years old, listening to Enter Sandman. Okay, the same songs, exactly the same. Do you think that they complain that it's boring? I hope they don't, but probably is. They do the same set. They have done over 400 concerts over the years. They must be so bored with playing the same set, and that's exactly what they do. But they've niched, They know what their audience likes and they just play it on repeat, and it works really well. So yes, niching can be boring, but it also makes you an expert and people will pay you handsomely for it. Okay, so it can feel repetitive, but we've just got to do that. We've got to do it. We're trying to micro niche into cost aggregation accounting. Is that vertical niching? No, that is horizontal niching. Vertical niching is about picking an industry. So if you did niching in dentists, that would be a vertical niche. Horizontal niche is specialism. However, if you did cost aggregation accounting for dentists, you are now on this one, which is the micro niche. Ubaid, okay? It's the holy grail of niching, and it's what I do, okay? A micro niche stacks a vertical on a horizontal. You name the industry and you name the outcome. So me, for example, I help accountants and bookkeepers move from compliance to advisory by building a productized freedom practice, a practice that pays more, runs on fewer hours, and builds a bigger impact. All right, so vertical niche accountants and bookkeepers and CFOs. Horizontal is moving from compliance to advisory and packaging up an advisory offer. And we work through the 7 activators, okay? Relationship activators. If you look at dental and exit ready, so helping dental practice owners sell for the highest possible price. Horizontal plus vertical. E-commerce built to scale, helping online retailers grow fast without the bank balance running dry. Can you let me know? Can I do a sense check that I still have you and I haven't overwhelmed you, confused you, got you in a muddle? Is this all making sense? Just give me a thumbs up and a yes if it's making sense. So a couple of thumbs up, which is great. Just put a yes in the chat box. Yep, great, perfect. All right, still here, making sense. Great, Fiona, that's fab. All right, I just really want to kind of go into the pros and cons. There's only one con to micro niching. There's almost no competition. There is really nobody who does what I do. I've owned my niche by using proprietary frameworks, proprietary language, being able to help in a way that has got 10 years of trial and error behind it. Like, I'm not new to this industry. The way I help you, what I say, what I do is 10 years of mastery. And that gives me a category of one. Nobody can compete with me. There are other people who help people with advisory, but they don't do it in the way that I do it. Completely unique framework. Premium fees, effortless messaging. I know it sounds a bit flippant. I don't mean to come across flippant, but I can wake up in the morning and whatever I say is relevant and resonates because I know you guys. I don't know you guys because of my ego. I know you guys because I study you and have done for 10 years. It's a really reassuring feeling. Fast authority, become known, named quickly. When I first came into the accounting profession, I did 100 blogs in 100 days. Within 3 months, I had partnerships reaching out, people buying from me. I literally had inbound leads coming in because I'd just positioned myself as the expert on marketing for accountants and bookkeepers. Referrals fly, tight communities talk, and the name travels. So this is really true as well. I have people come to me because some of my past clients talk about me, even like Laura Taylor, who's not Laura Taylor, she got married last week. She sold her practice and she puts it down to how I helped her niche. The fact that if she hadn't done that, she wouldn't have had the success. And she niched with construction businesses. Very interesting. Here's an example, right? This is niching your marketing, not your practice. So niching your marketing, not your practice. Hitesh created MediSuccess for healthcare professionals alongside his generalist business called the Wow Advisors. And they're both based out of Brisbane. He narrowed his marketing, not his entire practice. So he's got a generalist practice called Wow Advisors, and he's got a niche practice called MediSuccess. He's got 600 medical businesses working with MediSuccess, and he's got his generalist practice where he has an office and people can walk in and work with him from in and around Brisbane. All right. So I want to give you some examples. He went from having just a normal accounting firm to moving into advisory. We created his signature methodology. We packaged up his advisory offering, differentiated him from everybody else. He wrote a book and he has a very, very successful 2 businesses, 1 business, but 2 businesses. Okay. Duncan Lloyd, he came to me with a generalist practice we first of all, this is a screenshot from his website. Sorry, the one that's before is a screenshot from the website, right? This is a screenshot from his website, and he decided to go all in and create a signature methodology and package up his advisory for e-commerce businesses. Then what happened is I was sat with my friend Ben at lunch. We went out for lunch at a pub, and I was sat there, and I just had my head in my hands, right? And the reason why I had my head in my hands is we both met each other through a business coach, and he was turning over. He had revenue 4 times what I had and was taking home a quarter of what I was taking home. And I just put my head in my hands and I was like, you need to speak to my client, Duncan. So he specializes in profit first. Okay. And I said, you need to speak to my friend, Duncan, my client, Duncan. And I said to Ben, I said, I'm going to introduce you to Duncan. He spoke to Duncan. Duncan then went, ooh, okay, I'll help you. He helped Ben, and then he helped Ben so much. And Ben has a business that specializes in helping fitness companies. So he then decided to go and sell through Ben. So Ben would then refer him to all of his clients because he was an accountant that was working with a marketing person who specialized in helping gym owners. So he sold through Ben, and now he has 2 hunting niches. It's what I call a hunting niche, where we go hunting, niche marketing, not your practice, and a generalist practice underneath. So he still works with everybody. All right. So there's an example of 2 hunting niches and a generalist practice underneath. Then you've got the WOW company. Now, the WOW company haven't been my clients. I was a client of the WOW company, and I went to them as a generalist. So they specialize in helping people in Andover and Salisbury. I met them back in 2012. I became their client in 2012. What happened was, at that time, they were starting to grow. They were doing really, really well. They were doing well because they were marketing well. I'll tell you that. They saw that out of all of their clients, there was a particular kind of client that they really enjoyed working with and helping, which was digital agencies. So they built a community around them. And they, right, Fiona, they're your biggest competitors. Great. So build relationships with people. That would be my answer on that one. Okay, so build a community around them. And then they decided, do you know what, as an adjacent niche, so you've got digital agencies, an adjacent niche is consultants. So they niche their marketing, not their practice. They still have a big generalist practice based in Salisbury, but they also have 2 hunting niches. One is digital agencies, the other is consultants. Can you see how this is working? And if you have a look at their website, they've got the accountants you need right now, generalist, about us, what we do, beautiful businesses, agencies. That's how they're niching. Okay. All right. So I haven't finished. I've got lots more to share with you, but I just want to check in. What's your biggest takeaway so far? What's an aha moment so far? Alex, Andrew, Andy, Anthony, Ash, David, let me have a takeaway. Fiona, let me have yours. Giles, let me have yours. Jarek, Lena, Marielle, Mark, how you doing? Monya, Nicola, what's your micro niching is the way to go? 100% is. It is actually. Micro niching is the key. It totally is. And the way that we micro niche, we have to have a transformation that we give people. So what I specialize in helping you do is get clear on what that transformation is and packaging it up so that it's very sellable. So although I'm an expert for accountants and bookkeepers, I hate saying the word expert. I am though. After 10 years, I better be, otherwise I'd be struggling, right? So I hate tooting my own horn. I don't know if you guys ever do it. In Australia, they call it tall poppy syndrome. But anyway, I digress. Because I understand you, and because I have a framework and a methodology that is proven that gets results if someone implements it, that makes being in the micro niche really easy. Yeah, exactly. Not marketing blindly, like fishing for a goldfish in an ocean. Yeah, relationships are 100% irreplaceable. So I've got my competitors going after my clients. They're staying with me because I'm me, because they know I care. Like every single one of my clients, whether they're in momentum or in leverage, I know their names, I know their families. I don't know their families, I know of their families. Okay. Some of them I have met their families. I've met their children and their friends and their family. But it's a deep relationship. I know which ones have children at college, right? I know which ones are busy. I know when it's tax season, depending on where they are around the world. All these different nuances that make the relationship completely irreplaceable. And if they left me for a competitor, they come back. So if they get taken away on price or they get taken away on shiny object syndrome, which some people do have, because if you've got a good marketer, they will kind of get the eyes of your competitors, but they will come back if the relationship is there, because people crave relationships. All of you crave relationships. You want to know, like, and trust the people you're giving your money to, and your clients are no different from that. Yeah, great. So Mark says micro niche alongside our existing generalist practice is what we're looking at doing in our homepage website in the next 3 to 6 months. Great. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So niching means you become more vital. The more vital you are, the more you can charge, the better you support your clients, and the bigger the wins you give them, which means you can charge more again. It's a flywheel. Okay. So you have to position yourself as vital. You can't position yourself as vital if you are a generalist. It's okay if you are horizontal, but micro niching is the absolute key for it. Let me show you how that helps for Jessica. So Jessica already had a niche before I worked with her. Her revenue was at about 200K. By the time it was 2 years later, she was on goal for 2.2 million. She made 500K in 18 months, and then she was on goal for 2.2 million. She had a vertical niche when she joined me at 200K. Law firm owners, very vertical, couldn't be more specific than that. But she still knew that something was off. So those who say micro niche is the key, you're 100% right. Okay, she was struggling to charge the higher fees, even though she had that vertical niche, but she didn't have a methodology with a guaranteed transformation, and she couldn't see her value. She was blind. I don't know if you've ever seen the adverts where people walk into the room and they say that you're nose blind. It's normally your teenage son that's nose blind, right? And because the smell's so bad, she literally was like value blind. That value blind. She could walk into the room, she didn't realize the value and the mountain of value that she was sitting on. But what we did is we turned her into a micro niche, where we transformational niche that we gave her, and had that vertical and that horizontal. Before, she was charging less than $1,000. She's based in America, less than $1,000 per month per client. Afterwards, we were charging anywhere between $2,500 and $3,000. And we tried tipping it over the $3,000, but we started to get kickback from her prospects. Okay. So we found the cap by uncovering her value, but she was so confident. Now, here's the thing. I sound like AI there, don't I? Sound like Claude or Chat. Here's the thing. Let me tell you the truth. Here's the truth. What happened was, because we productized her value, we uncovered it, turned it into a methodology, enabled her to deliver it really easy. Some of that advisory work she could then offshore and outsource. So I think she has a team of about 8, but 5 of those aren't in the USA. And I think of the other 3, one's a social media manager and the other one's an admin person. So it's really interesting to watch the growth of the business model, not just, hey, I'm doing marketing, because the 7 relationship activators change your business model, but it's all grounded in productization and relationships, okay? A specific transformation packaged to a signature system. And the key to Jessica's success, as I said, was uncovering her value and packaging it up. And you guys are way too close to your value. You don't see your value. We were having a call last Thursday with my Momentum clients, and we were talking about another accountant who is posting very basic information. And one of my clients was in a mastermind with this other accountant. And it wasn't an accounting specific mastermind, it was a generalist one. And no, it wasn't with another accountant, actually. Let me rephrase that. It wasn't with another accountant. It was with a PA company, a VA company. And they were both in this mastermind. And this VA turned around and said, I've just bought from this accountant because she shared this very simple piece of information. Although the client didn't say it was simple. She just said this piece of information. And my client went, oh my gosh, I've never thought of sharing that, because that's just so obvious, but it's not obvious to the business owner. So this is what I mean about uncovering the value. You're nose blind to your value. Okay. So you need to uncover it, mine really deep to find out exactly what you're giving away for free and what you should be charging for. Okay. And how to articulate it. That all comes under relationship activator number 1, which is positioning. So it's niching and how to articulate it. So if you want to offer advisory, which I think the majority of you do, you need fewer clients than you would for compliance, but that gives you one thing that's pretty cool: relationships, because you have the time. Because the majority of you just don't have enough time. Now, this is why this is so important. So, Robin Dunbar from Oxford University worked out something very, very important in 1992. There is a number of stable relationships that the human brain can hold at any one time: 150. How many of you have got more than 150 clients? Let me know in the chat box. How many clients have you got? They can be compliance clients. I'm not talking about advisory. How many of you have got more than 150? Yeah. Okay, lots of thumbs up. 25. That's good, Giles. Only have 9. Yeah, don't go much more. Only's good. You actually only need 21 really good clients to pay you 500K a year. Okay, Ash, your brain must hurt, love. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to work towards around maximum 20 to 40. Let me just share. Okay, 5 is the number of people that you would grieve hardest for. So we're not, when I say 150, let's just go back to this. 150 stable relationships. I'm not just talking about clients. I'm talking about friends, family, acquaintances, people at church, people that you know from down the schoolyard, right? All of these people, they are all relationships, all of them. Your relationship with me is a relationship, okay? 5 of the people you'd grieve the hardest for. 15 are your close friends. 50 are your good friends, 150 meaningful contacts. Family and friends take up most of these. It leaves maybe 30 or 40 slots for your business relationships. Okay, 30 or 40 slots. That's it. So those of you, yeah, Mark has 0, staff have 450. Yeah, but they're still your responsibility, Mark. Okay, you still have to have some kind of relationship with those people, even if it's hands off. Or it might be even more hands-on than your clients, because when the crap really hits the fan, is it you that deals with it or is it them? That's what you need to think about. So the generalist problem, you have to hold hundreds of industries in your head. This is the thing that I want to kind of talk about here. You forget the little things that make a huge difference to your clients, the questions that you should have asked, but you were juggling too much in your mind. Like, how many of you, even with 9 clients, feel like you're juggling if you've got different industries? The thing that you promised last quarter, but the bigger fires need fighting. A really good example of this is I've got a client, I'll just call her A, and her name does begin with A. And she asked, I promised, actually, she didn't ask, I promised to do something for her last Tuesday. And my week got away with me. And yesterday I went, oh, blimey, I haven't done this for A. And I was like, this is holding a relationship in my head, right? And I remembered to do it, which is great, which shows that you can hold relationships in your head. And you promise things to your client and then you forget to do it. If you're anything like me. And if you're a woman, perimenopausal, you're going to forget even more often. Okay. But we then get bigger fires that need fighting. And I actually had a personal thing that went on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that meant that actually I forgot my promise to A on Tuesday, but I remembered on Monday, which was good. If I had hundreds of clients, I wouldn't remember that. I wouldn't be able to hold it. Okay. You can't serve more than 40 clients deeply. You can't do it. And that's why in my programs, you will see I don't have 300 clients in my programs anymore. I can't help 300 people anymore, not any one time. The number of clients I'm actively working with at any one time is between 20 and 50. All right. Prospects will pick the specialist every single time. They will want to make sure that you are a specialist. And when something is important, they seek out the specialist. When you need brain surgery, you go to the surgeon who's done 2,000 of them. When you need to package your advisory, I have helped hundreds and hundreds, 800 firms package their advisory services, uncover their value. You will come to me over somebody who kind of helps accountants with marketing, right? You don't pick the GP who does a bit of everything. You don't pick the generalist marketer. You go with the specialist. The same instinct runs when a business owner is looking for an accountant or an advisor. Okay. Yeah, nice. Nicola says, most of mine are all different clients. June's mission is to make big steps and nail down your niche. If you want any help with that, let me know. Lena, have about 100. Yeah. Okay. So here's another thing. Although relationships are important, you still have to show your expertise. Having a relationship with your prospect enables you to have conversations with them where you can show your expertise. 30% of people will buy from you because you're nice. 70% want the expertise with the nice. They will like the friendly generalist, but they won't ask them to help with their deepest fears and frustrations. The expertise is what seals the deal. You're welcome, Fiona. Right. Tribal belonging. We believe we belong to the groups we identify with. So Henry Tajfel has this thing called the social identity theory, and humans get a large part of their self-image from the groups that they belong to. So when you niche, you create a tribe. Prospects feel the recognition, the belonging, they see themselves in your work, and this is where the deepest relationships start. So all of you, okay, I'm not going to play an assumption game. Check in with yourself. As I'm going through what I'm saying, do you trust what I'm saying over other marketers who don't specialize in accountants? Just check in with yourself. Are you trusting what I'm saying? Do you feel safer on this webinar because I'm talking to my tribe of accountants and bookkeepers and CFOs? And do you trust what I'm saying more? That feeling is what you want your clients to have. Okay. Now let's talk about sales. Specialist versus generalist. Yeah, great, Olga. Thank you. For a couple of reasons. One, I'm completely me with my personality. Two, accountants and bookkeepers and CFOs. And three, I've been doing it a bleeding long time, right? So specialist versus generalist, success at sales, 67% versus 20% conversion rate. So a lot of you will go, yeah, but I close every client and I'm a generalist. You're probably charging too little and you're not sharing your value. All right. So as a generalist, if you're closing 100%, you should be closing about 20%. As a specialist, you could close 60, 70, 80%, but you have to be the micro niche. Okay. Days to close. This one's nice. If we can close more people faster at a higher price, we're starting to build what we call a productized freedom practice. 21 versus 43. So with your marketing and with a sales conversation, 21 versus 43 days to close, specialist against generalist. Pretty cool, eh? Lifetime value, 2.7% more when you stay with a specialist. These are all proper statistics. I didn't just pluck these out of the air or anywhere else, okay? All proven statistics. So this is Pool. Now, someone said that they were working with a declining market. I want to share with you about Pool because you might want to hold on or you might not. So Paul went all in on hospitality. I was working with her for nearly 5 years, I think it was, specifically helping restaurants scale and open multiple locations. So we have a vertical niche on hospitality and a horizontal niche, helping them scale and open multiple locations. Then COVID hit. So we started working together in 2019. COVID hit, entire hospitality industry collapsed. What do? You either pivot, you expand, you quit, or you do the fourth thing, which is just you blimmin' carry on. Okay. She stayed the course. She strengthened her offer. We worked. She actually did some one-on-one work with me, and we spent hours, days, really refining her offer, sharpening her messaging, growing her audience throughout the whole time when all these restaurants and hospitality places were closed. And by 2022, she 3x'd her revenue. She was the obvious choice when her clients were ready to invest. For a year, she did not get any new clients, but she spent that time head down, bum up, working really hard on her positioning and how she wanted to show up. And she was the accountant who helped people for free through the tough times and didn't jump ship. So think about that. If you niche, you become known for solving a specific problem, micro niche. You find your clients and market to them easily. So that's your horizontal and your vertical. The right prospects recognize themselves and reach out. Your case studies resonate with future clients. You charge what your expertise is worth. You build the foundation for productizing and scaling. And productizing is essential so that you don't do custom work with your clients every single time, even when it's advisory. Niching is a relationship activator. not just a marketing strategy. I'll remind you of the relationship activators. Get your positioning right, which is your message, your niche, who your ideal client is, what the transformation is. Then we productize. So we take all of that value, we turn it into a methodology. Then we build trust at scale with the marketing that is the right marketing for the right person at the right time that gets them to move along that customer journey. I've written an article about this. It's called there's 1, 2, 3 marketing rule. If you go to my LinkedIn and have a look at that, it's about 2 weeks ago that I published that. It's a really long article. It's about 4,000 words. Go and read that. That's about building trust at scale. So that will give you more of an idea on that. I will be doing a webinar on that, but not for a couple of months. Sell without selling is how to have sales conversations where people feel like they already know, like, and trust you, and you don't have to sell anything. Winning the first 100 days, relationship activator, how to make sure that that relationship lasts for a long time. Deepen the partnership is all about delivery, and activate your network and get those referrals. It's a flywheel, right? When you activate the network, you need to make sure you've got the right positioning, make sure you've got the right offer, build trust at scale, so on and so on and so on.